Te reo ererangi o te mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, citizen-made radio.
Kia ora and welcome to Emergence News. My name is Nigel, and joining me in the studio here at Plains Media in Christchurch, New Zealand is John. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Nigel.
Good to see you here in the studio. It's been a while since we've been here.
Yes, it has.
It's been a whole rebrand here.
Well, I'd say, and it's taken me a coffee to get through the front door, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, speaking of coffees before you get through the front door, you've indulged as well, Peter.
Yes, I had one as well, Nigel, yes.
Nothing like having a coffee on the drive-in, is there?
Well, I stopped at the cafe, actually.
Okay. You might have had a donut as well.
To our listeners, there is more than one cafe in Christchurch.
No, we're well endowed in that way, aren't we?
Well endowed.
Yes. People, Power and Global Resistance. This is a podcast that we released back in September 2019. You guys won't remember that.
No.
But I'll just take one quote from it. There is pushback. There is response. The voice of the people is rising, and with it, educated help. Why am I mentioning that? Well, this week, and for the last couple of weeks, Senator Bernie Sanders, he's been leading a bit of a charge over in the States, hasn't he? The Fighting Oligarchy Tour. Mm-hmm. He said he ran for president 2 times, and he's done a lot of rallies. He's never spoken in front of 34,000 people before in Denver.
Yeah.
And lots of well-known people selling their Teslas at the moment.
They better hurry up, because I've got a sense that the door is slowly closing to Fortress America. And you know, if you're going to be stuck on the inside, you need to get out. And I can see this. They're rapidly trying to close this door and lock America down so that they can have it structured in the way that the current mindset wants. It's Americans need to rise up and do it quickly. I don't think they've got 12 months. And if they're waiting for the next election, I don't think there'll be another election. Mr. Trump has said you don't need to vote for me again. So, hurry up, America, hurry up.
2 terms that's a thing of the past by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Just before we move on, just on that subject, people power. That's been talked about in the past, hasn't it?
Yes, it's the voice of the people is like the voice of God, because that's an aspect that's being brought out by God's will, if you like. Mm-hmm. The fact that people feel able to talk publicly about public opinion.
And Benjamin Cream's talked, I suspect that Maitreya, when he pours energy into the planet, is pouring it through humanity. And Benjamin Cream has said that this voice of the people, this rising up of the people, is the next stage in our evolution, because the human soul is pushing for freedom. So anything that is contra to freedom is against soul purpose for humanity. So what's happening politically, globally, with this swing to right wing, swing to conservatism, is, as we've discussed before, the powers of materialism, the forces of materialism on this planet, the forces of evil fighting that rearguard action to hang on to the control of humanity.
They're really fighting evolution.
So they'll lose. They're fighting evolution, so they will lose, but it's going to be messy. And it is messy at the moment. And, I'm talking to my listeners here. Life is tough. I get it. And if you think it's tough, you're right. The economic system's not working. The planet's breaking down. Social services are slowly being eroded. We've got political philosophies that are clearly in contradiction of human wellness, and everybody's suffering under them. There's not another country in the world that I'd want to live in, but I'd have to say New Zealand's pretty messy at the moment. So, just hang on and make sure your voice is heard and strive for freedom, because that is the difference. That is what's being removed in America. That's what disappeared in Russia. It's what's being eroded in the UK, and hang on to it, because that's what's going to save us.
Well, you're right in tune with Maitreya's promise, John, which I'll just quote this from the latest Share International magazine, the March 2025 issue. Maitreya's promise: while many people continue to believe that the present banking and stock exchange systems are necessary and unalterable, more and more people are coming to the conclusion that these banking and commercial systems have passed their usefulness and must soon be replaced. People everywhere are sensing a change and lending their voices to its call. They are sensing, too, their power to act. They sense that the old ways are almost over and have spent their force. They feel that there are better ways to live and look forward to tomorrow. Verily, the old ways are dying and hold back the race. The wheel turns and mighty Rome is falling once again. Maitreya's fire is lit in the hearts of countless millions as they respond, eager to build a new world where justice and harmony rule. Maitreya's promise is that this new world is on its way. You're tuned into Emergence News. Thanks for your company. And as I say, in the studio, we've got John and Peter. And Peter, what are you going to be looking at today? You've had your nose in another Alice Bailey volume.
Yes, I was looking at The Destiny of the Nations, and I confess it was the smallest book that I was reviewing, rather than Cosmic Fire, which is over 1,300 pages. So I thought, well, I'll see what's in here.
So you didn't find any Cosmic Fire, Peter? Is that what you're saying?
It was a bit of idleness on my part, I confess.
Now, John, I fear that Peter's the forward pack again, and you're out on the wing.
Feed the backs. Come on.
Are you putting any money on scoring a try today?
No. In fact, I'm just going to have another coffee and relax.
You think Peter is determined to make the touchdowns?
Run with it, Peter. Run with it.
Yeah, okay. Look, before you start, Peter.
Yeah.
I visited the Lucis Trust website. This week. And they've, just as of April this year, they have released a new compilation, just published, available through the Lucis Trust. And it's called Science and the Ageless Wisdom. This book bridges science, philosophy and religion from the perspective of the ageless wisdom, and reaches out especially to the scientifically minded. Can you think of anyone in this room that might be interested in that publication?
No. Never met them. All right. Yes, looking, as I say, at the Destiny of the Nations, and we're trying to sort out why we have this chaos at this present time. And, of course, the sixth ray, as you know, the most powerful in manifestation at this time, there's a very large number of people who are responding to this influence. It is still the line of least resistance for the majority, for the reason that when in process of time and through evolution and influence of a ray has become potent, it is groups that are primarily affected and not just individuals. A rhythm and a momentum is then set up and lasts a long time, which gains power through the very force of the organised numbers. So this is what we have at the moment, this ray 6. But, of course, the seventh ray is coming in, steadily gaining momentum, and this is going to bring in this ritualised magic and organisation on the planet, right at the physical level, isn't it, John?
It's going to... It actually scares me because I'm strongly ray 6, and ray 7 coming in is going to shake my life up.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be beneficial for me on some level. But at the moment, I'm going, oh, good, what's this going to bring in for me?
Yeah.
But I work in a big organisation, and I'm slowly seeing current structures not working.
Yes.
So part of my brain's going, hurry up with the seventh ray, will you?
Yeah. This is part of the chaos that we're talking about.
As a sixth ray, I'm sitting there going, I know something needs to change.
Yeah.
Our current system isn't working, and I work in a big organisation, but I cannot visualise or picture what is needed to fix it.
Yeah.
So it's constant frustration.
Especially
right.
when you've got the inertia of a big organisation.
Yeah. And I know what it takes to change big organisations.
They're just in mobile, aren't they?
It seems to me it's got to break. It's got to break down before it'll change, and I think I'm going to get hurt in the breakdown. Do you know what I mean?
The trouble, of course, is that one of the negative sides of the Ray 7 coming in is this control mechanism, which we see as a negative as well. But that's the negative aspect, perhaps, of the Ray 7. You see, so we're already seeing that happening. I mean, it's not just more cones on the street; it's all sorts of other things. In every organisation, our political scheme, everything's sort of control, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, the seventh ray is steadily gaining momentum and has for a long time been stimulating and enhancing the activity of the fifth ray nations. And these are the nations. The fifth ray, of course, is the ones to do with intellect, and it's the ones that are intelligently moving towards. I mean, you can see the intelligence coming through perhaps from the Japanese because they're that seventh sub-ray. If you bear in mind that one of the major objectives of seventh ray energy is to bring together and to relate spirit and matter and also substance and form, you can see for yourself that the work of science is closely connected with the endeavour, and that the creation of the new forms will definitely be the result of a working interaction between the rulers of the fifth, the second and the seventh rays, aided by the help on demand of the ruler of the first ray, which is the will aspect of God. A large number of Ray 7 egos or souls, and also men and women with seventh ray personalities, are coming into incarnation now, and to them is committed the task of organising the activities of the new era and of ending the old methods of life and the old crystallised attitudes of life to death, to leisure and to the population. And the impact of these two together actually bring about another class that feel they don't know what to think anymore. They've got this on the left hand. What do I think? What do I, where am I?
Yeah.
And so it shows itself as a pronounced crystallisation of the standardised and accepted forms of belief, religious and social and philosophic. It throws millions of people who do not respond to either of the above influences through egoic or personality relation into a state of bewilderment. They feel entirely lost. They're gripped by the idea that life holds for them no desirable future.
You know what? And I wonder if this is the group that Trump has plugged into. I watched an interview recently where a lecturer from one of the big universities in the States was saying that Trump's message appealed to young, uneducated men, white men in America, because no one was talking about their needs.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they are, and all over the world, standing around going, what's in it for me?
Exactly.
And it's in New Zealand. We have a problem with young people who are not engaged with our society. And I understand why, because it offers them nothing.
Yeah.
But that's that bewilderment, I think, Peter, that you're talking about.
That's right. So it's actually a third category. It's the sixth and seventh on one hand, and the don't know what to think category is the third aspect. It's just sort of amazing, really.
Yeah.
So so the sixth ray has a point in the sense that it stops the seventh ray rushing ahead too fast.
Yeah.
It just sort of slows it down and let's have a conversation about it, for goodness sake.
But you need the sixth ray to bring in new ideas, because it's that fanatical, devotional aspect that'll bring in a new idea, even though at the time of it coming in, it doesn't make sense.
No,
and the seventh ray will materialise it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like spirit meets matter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like, Peter, the sixth ray pushes forward and the seventh ray cleans up afterwards.
And grounds it.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, the seventh ray has the ideas, and that's obviously the aspect of where we're headed. But the sixth ray really is saying, "Hang on a minute, we don't like that."
Yeah, so as Nigel said, it slows it down.
Yeah, just slows it down.
You've said that we have seventh ray souls coming into incarnation.
Yes.
What would it be like to hang out with a seventh ray soul?
I don't know. I mean, we've got plenty of, I've got seventh ray physical, and so my brain is seventh ray, but, my soul is actually second ray. So I don't know of anyone, but there's plenty of seventh ray brains around, if you might say.
Because the majority on this planet are second ray souls, right?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
So
There's over 40% of second ray souls. Yeah, that's right. It's the most common.
So look, we spend a lot of time talking about people on the spectrum. We talk about ADHD. We talk about, there's all of this neurodiversity going on. Yeah. I wonder if they are seventh ray souls who are operating in a completely different way.
Yeah.
They are here for a different reason, and we're trying to squeeze them into our current systems.
Yes, well, I mean...
And it doesn't work.
Yeah, and diagnosing them as neurodiverse rather than saying, well, it's a seventh ray soul. What do you expect?
Master DK says there are several problems that will be solved in the next 2 centuries. The problem of territorial possessions, which is group correspondence within the family of nations and materiality of the individual. The problem of sex, which will involve a truer understanding of the law of attraction. The problem of death, which is in reality the problem of subjective to the objective, between the life and the form.
Can I ask a question? The law of attraction, I'm interested in this one about the sex, you see. Mm-hmm. The law of attraction, what do you know about that, John?
That's interesting because I would have said compatibility, Peter. Because Benjamin Creme, I think from memory, has talked a little bit about current relationships on the planet are based on sexual compatibility and convenience. Right, and I think there's some truth in that. We tend to label sexual compatibility as love, and then living together and being in a relationship has a huge element of economic security and convenience. Yeah. So that sort of rang some bells for me. But he's talked about compatibility on evolution, point of evolution and ray structure.
That's right. Yeah.
So in the future, and Peter, you've talked about this before, right from the very beginning in our education system, teachers and psychologists need to be able to look at an individual, read their point of evolution and read their ray structure. A culture or a civilization based on that philosophy will move gradually into that, I guess I'm going to call it the art of compatibility.
That's right. I think it will, John. I think it's
right?
a good analysis of it, yeah.
Because currently we tend to form relationship, and I'm happy with that, sexual compatibility and convenience, but also attraction. But it's romantic attraction, it's astral attraction. It's a very shallow place to start.
Yeah.
And, it's no wonder our divorce rate in this country is about 51%.
Yeah,
and, of course, cooperation's the big problem too, because our modern world is built on competition.
Yeah,
and that's the opposite of equilibrium, isn't it?
And we bring competition into our relationships.
Yeah.
So, I think that's an interesting observation from DK. And he calls it law of attraction, doesn't he?
That's right.
And there's any number of channeled entities who deal in the law of attraction. There's many books written about the law of attraction. It is something that's being discussed in that kind of new age arena.
That's right.
Around law of attraction. And I did meet someone many, many years ago who had European, quite formal training in matchmaking.
Oh.
So she worked as a matchmaker, where she would take two individuals, look at their family, look at their history, look at a whole lot of things to see if she could establish if they were compatible. So very much outside of the dating app approach that we have at the moment to finding a life partner.
Yes, it would be fascinating finding out what model she was using.
Fascinating.
Was she successful?
I didn't use her services, but she was part of a spiritual group that had a philosophy and had a vision of life. So I thought it was quite interesting, but at the time I didn't require her services.
This is Emergence News, and thanks for your company. Today, Peter is looking at The Destiny of Nations, a fascinating volume by author Alice Bailey. And what have you got to finish on here, Peter?
Just a little piece at the end of the book, to be quite honest, Nigel. The vision in men's minds today is that of the Aquarian age, even if they recognise it not. The future will see right relationship, true communion, a sharing of all things, the wine, the blood, the life, the bread, economic satisfaction, and goodwill. We have also a picture of the future of humanity, when all nations are united in complete understanding, and the diversity of languages, symbolic of differing traditions, cultures, civilizing and points of view, will provide no barrier to right human relations. At the centre of each of these pictures is to be found the Christ. Thus, the expressed aims and efforts of the United Nations will be eventually brought to fruition, and a new Church of God, gathered out of all religions and the spiritual groups, will unitedly bring to an end the great heresy of separateness. Love, unity, and the risen Christ will be present, and he will demonstrate to us the perfect life.